Hi, today we are going to go over squares and square roots. We've seen these all many times before in higher level math, so I'm just going to talk briefly about what they are and how to do them. So let's start off with numbers that are squared. So if you have a number that is squared, that is, you have your value with a 2 in the upper right hand corner, that doesn't mean this number times 2. It means this number times itself. So an example would be 3 squared. That's what they call it when it's a 2 in the upper right-hand corner. It's called a squared. So 3 squared is not 3 times 2. It is 3 times 3. See how there's the number 2? And we have two values of 3. So 3 squared is 3 times 3, which would equal 9. 4 squared is exactly the same thing, except with fours. So instead of having 4 times 2, it's 4 times 4, which equals 16. And this goes on for any number that you can think of. You could have 8 squared, and that would be 8 times 8, which would give you 64, which I have a little chart that I will show you in just a little bit. Now, a square root is just a little bit different, but they're pretty much the same thing. So right here is we have our square root symbol. We have seen this several times. This is also called the radical symbol. So what exactly is a square root? Well, a square root is a number that when multiplied by itself is the radicand. What's the radicand? Well, the radicand is the number that is in here. So here's our radical symbol, and the number inside is 16. So what that is looking for is we need to find a whole number multiplied by itself that would give you 16. If you don't know the answer, it's 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Now on this next sheet of paper, go ahead and pause the video and copy these down. These are very important to memorize, not only just for your own knowledge, but when you are working out any kind of mathematical equation. If you know these by heart, it'll make your work a lot quicker and a lot more smooth. You'll even use these when you get into higher level math, such as college. So let's go over these, okay? So the square root of 4 is 2. Why? Because 2 times 2 is 4. The square root of 9 is 3, because 3 times 3 equals 9. The square root of 16 is 4, because 4 times 4 equals 16. The square root of 25 is 5, and so on and so forth. The square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 49 is 7. The square root of 64 is 8. The square root of 81 is 9. The square root of 100 is 10. The square root of 121 is 11. And we're just going to go a little bit further, okay? So go ahead and pause and copy these down as well. We have the square root of 144 is 12. The square root of 169 is 13. The square root of 196 is 14. 14 times 14 will give you 196. The square root of 225 is 15. The square root of 256 is 16. And the square root of 289 is 17. So now that we've got our square roots, let's go back and talk about numbers being squared. So a number that is squared is any value that is multiplied by itself. Okay, So let's take a look at the next page. So numbers that are squared. So again, remember when a number is squared, it has the number 2 in the upper right-hand corner. So 2 squared, in this case, it is 2 times 2 because 2 times itself will equal 4. 3 squared is not 3 times 2, it is 3 times 3, which will give you 9. 4 squared is not 4 times 2, but it is 4 times 4. See how it's all multiplied by itself? And that'll give you 16. Okay, just a little recap here. So the square root of 9 is 3. And that's because 3 squared, or 3 times 3, is 9. And that is squares and square roots. And if you are asking for more practice, well, you got it. Here we go. Flashcards. I know how much you love them. Now let's see. What is the square root of 256? Do you remember? It's 16. Very good. What about the square root of 121? If you said 11, you are absolutely correct. You're probably wondering, what's the square root of 100? If you said 10, you are absolutely right. Square root of 16 is, remember, it's the number times itself. If you said 4, you're absolutely right. The square root of 289, and yes, you will be using numbers this big and having to find the square root for them. So it's good to memorize them all the way up to the number 17, which is the answer for this one. And you can actually go on and learn all the square roots up to a number like 100 or 1000 if you'd like. I mean, why not, right? The square root of 36 is 6. Very good. The square root of 169 is 13. Very good. The square root of 25 is 5. Very good. The square root of 81, you're absolutely right. It's 9. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 49 is 7. Good job. The square root of 64 is 8. Fabulous. Oops. The square root of 144 is 12. The square root of 196 is 14. The square root of 225 is 15. And last but not least, the square root of 9 is, you guessed it, 3. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. Feel free to let me know if you are still confused on something. Have a wonderful day and happy learning.